I think I should start off by introducing myself. I'm Mzee. This is my third year working as a software developer, or 2 years of which was an internship at BBD, and now I'm a graduate. I'm actually working in the SaaS project. So, the dangers of cloud. So this presentation is aimed for developers who are new to cloud storage. Although if you are experienced, I feel like you might still be able to take something away from this. So what are we going to be discussing? So we will discuss what are databases, the types of databases, the cloud specifically for databases, and some platforms you'd be interested in if you were going to host on the cloud, and some risks you may need to be aware of before you go about hosting on the cloud. So cloud computing, what is it and what does it mean? So cloud computing is basically the commodification of data storage and computing time with the help of standardized technologies. So cloud databases are databases that run on cloud computers. Users can independently run cloud databases on the cloud with either one of two models, the virtual machine, or by purchasing access to a database service that are maintained by the cloud database providers. So I thought before we move too far forward, I think it's important that we discuss what is a database and when does cloud actually suit you. Because although we are quite familiar with it, I always think it's important that we discuss it. So what is a database? So a database is an organized collection of structured information or data, typically stored electronically in a computer system. Together, the data and the DBMS, so the database management system, along with other applications that are associated with them, are referred to as a database system, often shortened to just a database. So data within the most common types of databases in today's operational systems are typically modeled in rows and columns in a series of tables that make processing data querying efficient. The data can then be easily accessed, managed, modified, updated, controlled, and organized. Most databases use structured query language, SQL. So I'm pretty sure we all know what SQL is for writing and querying data. So then, which brings the question, when does cloud actually suit you as a developer? So cloud databases are best suited for customers who are focused on getting their applications developed without getting hassled with their infrastructure related issues, which I think is a very important part. So there are obviously different types of databases that we'll shortly discuss. Relational databases, which I'm sure we've all worked with at some point. Object-oriented databases, distributed, NoSQL, Graph, and OLTP. There are other types, but these are the ones that I thought were quite cool, and I thought we could just discuss quickly. So relational databases. Items in a relational database are organized in a set of tables with columns and rows. Relational databases technologies provide the most efficient and flexible ways to access structured information. So an example of an enterprise that would use a relational database is actually my current project, SaaS. And I think it's safe to say it's the most commonly used database type. The next one brings us to object-oriented databases. So information in an object-oriented database is represented in the form of objects, as in object-oriented programming. So if you're familiar with Firebase, you'll know that they use object-oriented database in their Firestore database. Distributed databases. A distributed database consists of two or more files located in different sites. The database may be stored on multiple computers, located in the same physical location or scattered over different networks. NoSQL databases. So what is a NoSQL database? A NoSQL database or a non-relational database allows unstructured and semi-structured data to be stored and manipulated, in contrast to a relational database, which defines how all data inserted into a database must be composed. NoSQL databases really grew popular as web applications became more common and more complex. So some popular companies that will use the NoSQL database will be, every developer is aware of this, Stack Overflow. Microsoft and Dell are other examples of companies that use it. Graph databases. So a graph database stores data in terms of entities and their relationships between entities. So typically you'll find that social networks or recommendation engines will make use of a graph database. OLTP databases. So an OLTP database is a speedy analytic database designed for a large number of transactions performed by multiple users. So when are these commonly used? So an OLTP database system are commonly used for order entry, financial transactions, customer relationship management, and retail sales. So I think it's important now that we've discussed that we shift our focus solely to relational databases, specifically on where and how to host these relational databases. The infamous Google Cloud. So Google Services not only offers MySQL databases, but they also give you the choice of Postgres SQL Server and assure you will be able to connect to your data from any application and from any part of the world without worrying about daily backups, replication, or any failovers. Google promises that you'll get trusted data, high availability, and flexibility practically without having to move a finger. So, a big plus with the Google Cloud SQL is that you do not have to plan your storage capacity beforehand. You can start for free with a simple testing database with a reduced data set and then jump to a production environment using high availability database in no time. Azure by Microsoft. So Azure Cloud Computing Platform offered by Microsoft offers a relational database that enables users to access SQL databases either on Microsoft Cloud or on hosted servers on virtual machines. So other than MySQL, you can opt for MonarchDB, Redis, or PostgreSQL. DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean, starting at about 255 Rand a month, offers managed databases, which gives you high scalability, daily backups, and automated failovers. With a few clicks, you can launch a MySQL cluster and then use the API to access DigitalOcean's own simplified user interface to work with it. You won't need to worry about routine management tasks because they will be taken care of. And an interesting aspect of the managed service is that the daily backups provide the ability to restore the data at any point within the past 7 days, which I really think is important if you're going to go to the cloud. Amazon Web Services. So Amazon offers a wide array of cloud database services, which includes NoSQL as well as relational databases. Amazon Relational Databases service runs on either Oracle, SQL, or MySQL, whereas Amazon Simplified DB is primarily schemaless database that is meant to handle smaller workloads. Furthermore, Amazon offers supplementary data management system services such as Redshift and Data Warehouse and Pipeline. So with all of that being said, what are the risks of hosting your practice on the cloud? As you can see, I've picked out 4 risks that you could consider before you go into the cloud. The first of which being security, privacy, and confidentiality. So while cloud technically offers a high level of security than local servers, due to IT experts managing these environments, as they become more popular, they also become more attractive for hackers. The probability of an attack happening is relatively low, but even if only one is successful, the impact could be significant. So just for an example, I just have one friend who had an experience where their security wasn't up to standard, and a hacker just dropped a couple of tables in their production environment, which took them about a week to get sorted out. So that in itself is an example of what could happen to you if your security isn't where it needs to be. The next point is compliance issues. So, a host of IT compliance issues arise when a company decides to migrate to the cloud. So these are often industry-specific regulatory issues, such as Medicare integration, healthcare compliance, or even government regulations. The loss of data is also another one of the risks that you must be aware of. So by transferring sensitive practice data over to a third-party provider, you risk the possibility of them going out of business, mismanaging your data, or even their cloud environment crashing as a result of in you losing all of your practice data. The big one out of all of them, I think, is the hidden costs, which is one that I think one mustn't take lightly at all. So, you always need to ensure that you have all costs quoted up in front to avoid potential financial damage to your company, resulting from a reduction in productivity. So, despite all these risks, there can be significant cost savings that can be realized via the cloud. Which brings me to ask the question: why are we having this takeaway? Why is it important that we discuss the cloud and the risks? So specifically for me, I thought, having had the experiences this year through the grad program, and one of the projects in which we had to build a COVID-19 tracking web application, and obviously to manage it, we had to store data in a database, which I had decided to host it on the Google Cloud platform. I got bitten in the bum on the fourth of those risks, the hidden costs. So fortunately, BBD did cover it for me, but that might not always be the case with you and your company. So I always think it's important that we learn from our mistakes and we learn from others. So if there's anything you can take away, it's just to do a little bit more research and just to be a little bit more aware what you do whilst you're doing it. So which brings me to one last thing that you need to be sure of when you pick a cloud database provider is that will it let you take your database somewhere else at any moment without hassles. The cloud service provider that you choose today may not necessarily be appropriate tomorrow, or maybe you might find another option that offers a better or cheaper service. Therefore, you need to know in advance that you'll be able to migrate your data at your will easily. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope you've all learned something from it. I hope it's been entertaining. And yeah, thank you all. Cheers.